Yeah, the topic for today is reading books, and Skip's trying to think of can he read, and
Yes.
so we're sitting here talking all morning. Like last hour, we are talking about like these different books we read. Like we both really love Hail Mary and Andy Weir,
That was
and
great. Yeah.
the I get asked all the time as a business owner, what books do you recommend? And the proper guy in me wants to sit back and go, well, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and some provocative one like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Shit. Giving a fuck. There it is. Um,
Mm.
the problem is like we try to impress people with the books we read rather than
Yeah.
mentioning the books we actually read. And maybe some of you out there are always reading really provocative books, and more power to you. You do you. But as for me, I'm a sci-fi guy. Like I
Yes.
spend all
Yeah.
day running a company. I spend time doing business strategy, learning about business strategy, reading blogs on business strategy, learning from mentors on business strategy. I don't
Hmm.
want to go home and read more business strategy. I want to go home and read something that is going to relax me and take me to another world where my problems don't exist. you know? And
Escapism.
over time, like I've gotten more confident when people ask me, like, what's your favorite book right now? Oh, Hail Mary. Oh,
Yep.
what's that strategy on? Is that an agile strategy book? Like, no, it's about a guy who
Oh.
goes into space and tries to solve a problem with astrophage killing Earth. And you see people kind of like stop for a second.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I need to back
And
up
while
the
he's there, he has a really exciting a really exciting adventure. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So, and I was recently listening to a very I don't know what do you call it. He's running a multi-billion-dollar company, and that, as always, it came up. Hey, what books do you recommend for those of us entrepreneurs and small businesses growing up? And he's like, well, and he kind of gave the exact same speech that I give. and
yeah.
he talked about sci-fi. I'm like, cool, which sci-fi novels? And so we kind of like hit it off, and we're talking about the different sci-fi novels we love. And right now, Seven Eves is on my reading list. But I've also got things like Something Full of Murder Hobo because I like lit RPG. I've also got Redeeming Love on there because it recently came out as a movie, and I know everybody's talking about it, so I should probably read the book. In total, on Audible, because I'm an Audible junkie, I have read 6 months, 9 days, 12 hours, and 12 minutes altogether.
Oh, wow.
Straight.
Wow.
That's how much time I listen to books.
Mm.
And so it Skip's over there trying to figure out, okay, did I read a book?
Yeah, so I think it's hilarious. I'm looking through my Audible list, and I see all these really interesting books listed there. I'm like, wow, that looks cool. Why does it show that I finished that? I don't remember that novel.
Yeah.
But I know as soon as I start it, I'll be 2 pages in, or 10 minutes in, or whatever, and it'll click, and then I'll be moving on to something else because I have a hard time rereading or re-listening to books.
There's only a couple
But
books I could re-listen to like an infinite number of times, and that's like Ready Player One. I could listen to that book 100 times and never be tired of it.
you know,
I think I've listened to it 11 times all the way through, but that's just because I'm a super nerd.
there we go.
And
Yeah.
some of the other books that I can reread, like Hail Mary. I've done that one twice since it came out. It's just a good relaxing read. Because when I read, I want my brain to relax. I talk about this in our community updates and different times in our mentorship of clients. Of like, you have to find time to relax so that your brain can be creative. When your brain is busy, it's not creative. That's why you have your best ideas while you're in the shower. They used to have a joke that you used to have your great ideas while on the toilet, but now that we have smartphones,
Yeah.
our brain is busy on the toilet.
Yeah. It's too
We're
busy.
playing
Yeah.
Bubble Breaker. We're playing, our favorite mobile game, or answering emails, which no one does on the toilet. Um, and the ideas now are in your shower, because now you're in a shower, you're not distracted, your brain's relaxed, and you come with great ideas. I like to think a lot of the great ideas I come up with are because I'll be reading a book for the second or third time. My brain is relaxed and my mind wanders, and I get a great idea. Like, oh, why am I not approaching client relationships like this? Huh. And then, like I'll put something together that's been stewing in my brain for a while. And I think that's one of the beauties of reading fiction is that creative center in your brain gets activated because you have to think of things that may be impossible. Now, for
Mhm.
me, like when it comes to sci-fi and fantasy, I really like high fantasy and I like hard sci-fi, e.g., like The Martian, Hail Mary,
Yep.
books that
Lots of
have to
sciencey
be
stuff in it.
more of a Trekkie than a Star Wars guy, believe it or not.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just part of the way my brain works. And I feel like such an imposter when I'm at business events and everybody's talking about the latest and greatest business book that came out. And I think, oh gosh, if they only knew.
Yep.
And I don't know how many other people out there have the same problem. I know we have a lot of listeners. For those of you who want to know, like this week we hit a milestone on the podcast. We are over 4,000 listens. So really, really great milestone for our podcast. And only 3,000 of those are me re-listening to the podcast. Now the the thing is like just to fill your mind with things that are positive and they're going to help you move forward with your life. If you spend all your time reading business theory, my problem there is that you get too many ideas. You can become a part of the flavor of the day and you don't focus on what is important. You don't focus on that one thing. So maybe you read a book on agile business building or lean manufacturing, and now you're like, oh, I'm all about this. Then you get the next book, and all of a sudden it's like all about start with why, asking better questions. Like, oh, I need to ask better questions in my business. And your brain is so full of ideas. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where the reason why Mr. Burns never dies is because all of the viruses are trying to get through at the same time. All the diseases are trying to hit him at once and they can't get through the door.
And
And
then
so
they
you have
can't get
so
it.
many ideas from all these business theory books
Yeah.
that you're trying to implement all at the same time that you never get anything done.
Yeah. Well,
This is
let me
me. I'm
offer.
simple. I'm dumb. I
Yeah.
got like
Let
one thing
me.
I'm trying at a time because that's all I can handle.
Yes. And let me offer a little advice about some of those more business focused books. So I don't get into those either. I'm very much like Adam. I'd rather read fiction than what is many times some dry, boring, business sort of deal. I do that at work. But some of them, they do connect. We get engaged and they become pretty realistic. And I would encourage you to just try them. Audible is, and not a plug for Audible, just it's the way it is. You can start listening to a book, and if you don't like it, you can send it right back, you know, and and start again. And so find some of those that you connect with, either the message that starts out, or just the topic, the delivery, whatever it is. That I go back to one that I read many many years ago. It was Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And I connected with what he was trying to say. I had these ideas and these challenges that I was working with at the time, and what he said was illuminating to what I was working on. It didn't solve problems, but it helped me see things much much more clearly. And so those are those that's a good book that it is one of the few that I'll go back and listen to every once in a while, because there was good stuff in that. But I can't tell you how many books after that I started and didn't finish
Oh
because
yeah.
it just didn't connect. It just didn't resonate.
And I've done quite a few business theory books as well. Like I went down that road. It's kind of like self-help books. It's not that I'm a well-balanced human being. It's just that they all sound the same after a while.
Yeah.
And same thing with business theory books. Like there are some great business theories out there that only apply to a specific situation. So you'll have this really famous CEO write a book because they ran a famous firm. Well, that's great. It worked for them. It won't work anywhere
It
else because
worked
that
for
was their
them.
culture. And you can
Yes.
glean things from there. And usually the things you can glean, you got from other books. So if you read, you'll hear me talk about The Goal. And it's a great book from the 1980s. And it's a staple to a lot of MBA programs. And it's an easy read, but it's all lean manufacturing. Well, if you want to not read a book as long as the goal, read Rocket Fuel, the traction book. Same idea. But if you want, and that's if you want to learn how to do better culture and better goal setting and better um, establishment of your small business, those are great books. However, if you want to learn like more self improvement, The Subtle Art, or Start with Why, how to ask better questions, how to get rid of clutter in your life. Those two books will teach you those things. After that, everything starts to become repetitive. Like there's like I have this thing where like I read or listen to a business theory book, and somewhere in there is one truth, one nugget that I need.
One, yes, yes.
And once I find it, there it is. And all of a sudden, the next 200 pages are fluff. And to justify why this is a great idea. I'm like, no, you already got me. Like I did not think of that before. And it's like, can we get a book of Proverbs or something like that, but just business advice?
So
I want like little like paragraphs, nuggets here and there of one book of just solid business advice.
So I've seen these kind of services or subscription models or whatever, where they basically give you the cliff notes of whatever the most popular, business focused book is. And they condense it all down into, a 10-minute read or 15-minute listen or something. I don't know. But it's just, it boils it down. And I don't know. It seems so valuable, but I've never gone down that road because it seems like cheating or something, right? It's like, wait, I'm supposed to read these books. It's like my penance for something.
A few podcasts on that as well. Like,
and I don't understand. Why don't I just go ahead and get the nugget? And why do I feel I have to endure some of these books just to get the one little bit of good?
But the thing is, if I took that fire hose approach again, I'd be the George Burns. I'd be like, all these great ideas are flooding through, and I'm not going to get anything done because I got ADHD, and I'm going to flip from one to another. And you know what? I'll have great advice that is not implemented. And right now it's like, as a small business, you're worried about cash flow. You're worried about, how do I invest better? Which product do I push for my members next? And so for our technology people, like, you're in an MSP, and sometimes you can get stuck with the projects you need to do the next day. And then you think of like the 30 things you need to do, and none of them get done because you don't commit to one. And I think it's a common problem in MSPs. Like, by the end of the year, you end up with this pile of things that are kind of half done, and you get these half ideas, and it's because you didn't focus on any. So for me, like with a book, when you go and you listen to for like, I'm looking at my list here, The Last Shadow, finally Orson Scott Card ended the Ender series. Now, you remember when the first book came out, this has been a long time coming. So I'm reading that, and my brain is relaxed. I'm not adding more things onto my pile of things I need to do at workplace. I am simply relaxing my brain in a context, and I will get back to the list of projects when I get back to work. And that's a good thing. I don't need to add more ideas onto the pile. With MSPs, with technology providers, we have too many ideas as it is. We don't need more on the pile. If you're short on ideas, anybody out there, feel free to give me a call. I will dump 60 ideas on you.
There you go.
And, in business, I do get that all the time. Like, well, why don't you do this? And I do it to other people and entrepreneurs. Like, why aren't you doing this? And there are so many good ideas that we can kill ourselves trying to pursue them all. Like, yeah, that's great, but here's my vertical. Here's where I'm focused, and that's the direction I'm going. So if I ever write a book, it's going to be all about cutting out the crap. It's going to be staying in your vertical, staying in your narrative, so that you can focus on what you do well.
And I guess that's been kind of a theme for some of the more, there's few of them as there are, but some of the business books that I've gone through here of late. It's not so much that I need new ideas; it's that I need, perhaps it's motivation, perhaps it's a better understanding, but I just need to focus on the ideas that I have right now. So one of the recent ones that I went through was The Mission, the Men, and Me, lessons from a Delta Force commander.
Mm.
And, it was interesting because, it's very nitty gritty sort of examples and, scenarios that he's telling the story with, but he focuses on the things that were important. And to be honest, as I listened to those, he didn't reveal anything that was really important that I didn't already know. It was a lot of really obvious stuff, but he provided a lot of context, and just a lot of, it's not cheerleading. I don't know. He just provided motivation, or, an ability to highlight these things that we know we need to do. And I really enjoyed that one. That was very productive. And, there's one section in there he talks about not getting treed by a chihuahua.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and that was just, that resonated with me, and that was really good. And so I think those can be sometimes tremendously more valuable because you can actually do something with it. It's not about what you know, it's what you can actually do. And if you know all this stuff but don't do anything, it really doesn't provide any value to anybody.
Yeah, and I think the best part of reading a book is getting a different idea. And I think I've said that in the podcast so far, is finding a book that expands your knowledge in a productive way. So when you're looking for a new book, don't just grab a random book. So, I'm not knocking any book out there. I will read almost anything that people recommend me. Sometimes I'll get a recommendation. I'll be like, yeah, that sounds exactly like this other book I read. And I'll put it on my list, but it's not going to float to the top. But read things that are outside of your norm. So, for instance, there's great books on culture out there and things that happen that can expand your awareness of the economy. So, as a small business owner, I really am interested in how the economy is working because I need to react to it. So, reading Obama's book when it came out, that was important to me because there was the commander in chief, and I wanted to know, how did he get to be where he was? What happened in his narrative and in his life? And kind of remind me of what we went through during his presidency and during his time in office. That expanded my thinking. Whether or not I support Obama or not is beside the point, but it was a perspective that I needed to hear on the economy. And there are lots of
Yeah.
things like that. And will it shed light on an area that you are maybe weak in? And so there's things like reading. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I've got my list in front of me, but there's like 300 books on it, literally. But books that teach you about a portion of the world that maybe you're not connected with, but affects you. Don't spend your time learning about pieces of the world and things that don't affect you and you have no influence over. Spend time working on things that you do have influence over and that you need to learn more about. Maybe if you're a Republican, read something from a Democrat, a book. Maybe if you're a Democrat, reading something from a Republican, get to know those perspectives. If you're a business owner, read something from a creative standpoint. Maybe read a cultural item. And so you can create a better culture in your business. What are you weak in? We tend to really enjoy going to our strengths. I love going to sci-fi. It's my happy place. And so I will read sci-fi all day long, but I have to force myself out every once in a while to expand my knowledge set by reading things that maybe just aren't exactly in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I've got a little. Well, I'll spare you the longer story, but I've had a reason here over the last couple of years to kind of get involved in manufacturing and shipping overseas. Little side. Everybody's got a little side hustle, right?
oh, hey.
And it's been kind of fun. It's been very interesting. It's been very much a hobby, I guess, but it has drastically opened my eyes to just some more events worldwide, and kind of the nitty gritty stuff. And seeing how some of those different markets work, how they respond to global events, and what that means, and the differences from here and there, it makes me appreciate, and I think get a little bit better insight on my business, my real business during the day. So yeah, expanding out is really going to give you that I don't know, that better understanding of what's core. I mean, I think we all have a core set of beliefs. We all have a core set of actions and things that we do really well, but we need to challenge those sometimes. Not with the expectation that we're going to change who we are, but we
Augment
do
who
need
we
to.
are.
Yes, we need to augment. We need to do, because we do things, we all want to do them better. And if we think we're going to do things totally different, that might not always be the case.
Oh
It
yeah.
might be we're going to do what we have been doing, but there are going to be ways where we can drastically do it better. And we just need a little perspective to uncover those paths.
Yeah, and that's kind of that strengths finder motivation there is that, or that mindset where play to your strengths, um, stabilize your weaknesses. And so, like, I read books. I just had a lunch with a friend of mine yesterday, and he gave me this like, I need to be a better listener, and that is true. Adam Walter will always need to be a better listener. However, I have a fundamental part of my brain, ADHD, that has a really hard time staying on topic. And so when I'm listening to somebody talk and they're talking really slow, and I've got
Oh,
this great anecdote that comes off of that first part of
yep,
the sentence, and I
yep,
just
yep.
want to tell and engage with them on that first thing they're talking about, but they keep going because they won't land the plane. And I'm over here
Yep,
like digging my fingernails into my thighs, saying, "Can I engage in the conversation? Can I get?" And I
yep,
know it's a
yep.
bad thing. I've read 6 books on active listening skill. I could teach you a class on active listening, and I feels and I hear and I tell, but it'll never be one of my strengths because of just the way my brain works. I've come a
Totally get
long
that.
way. And it's
Totally
good.
get
Oh, I interrupt all the time. And
that.
anybody listening to this podcast or any of our weekly updates, I interrupt all the time. It's just that's
So,
where my brain is.
how
However,
many
it's a
of
really
how many
hard.
of you on our podcast are listening to us at 1.5 speed? You're in the same boat. You're in the
Yeah,
same boat.
yeah. So I listen to my books for anybody who wants to know. Like often, bare minimum 1.25 to 1.5. If you
Yep.
are a academic book, I'm listening to you at 2.0 to 2.5. And
Yep.
that's me. And so I'm listening to people in normal conversations go
Oh
on.
my God, I just
Anyways, that is not my strength. My strength is in different areas, and I read books that help me curb my strengths, and that I can really expand my thoughts and what I do well. And then I try to curb myself on things I don't do well. And I think that's the beauty of books. Reach out and read something that you normally wouldn't read. If you read a lot of business theory, go and read a Western. Read something that just does not fit your style. Read a horror, read an intrigue, read a Sherlock Holmes. Um, go find a romance novel and just read through it and try to figure out why people enjoy this so much. Don't read it with that criticality of, "Ugh, this is trash." Read it of like, this is a very popular thing. Why? So I'll be reading Redeeming Love, and is it my kind of book? No. But is it popular right now? Yes, because of the movie. Will I get something out of it? Probably be entertained. It's kind of like the Rosie Project. Great book if you guys haven't read it. It's a romance novel about an autistic guy who just doesn't get it. Which, for all of you MSPs out there, it's going to strike a little close to home for a lot of you.
yep.
But it's a great book. But sometimes I read a book that's outside of my norm, like the Rosie Project, a love story, and I end up enjoying it. I end up finding some really
Yep.
cool things about it, and I remember it. And I think more people should be that way, where they read something outside the norm just to refresh that part of their brain. It may be
Yeah.
your weak spot, and you don't need to read every book, but one out of every 10 maybe is a book that is really highly rated that you see like 50,000 reviews on, and you're like, ugh, that's not really something I would read, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try and put something positive out of it, try to glean something out of it. So try that out, and you might find something that you really enjoy. You might wake up a part of your brain that might help you solve a problem in your business. If you're not a sci-fi person, read some sci-fi. It may help you think creatively and critically about things because now you have to think something new. It's akin to the idea that if you drive a different route to work every day, it's supposed to help your memory.
Hmm. Okay.
It's supposed to help you stave off some of those memory issues. So refreshing and activating those parts of your brain with a book is going to help you, in my opinion, be more intelligent and think of better ideas and get out of, like, if you're stuck in a rut, this is how you get out. I firmly believe you cannot go wrong reading any book, no matter how trash the novel is. There is
Yeah.
now there's bad literature. That's just because it has unhealthy ideas in it.
All
I'm
right.
not a
All right.
censorship person. Read whatever you want to read, but there are some books that just won't make you better.
Yeah. That's true.
However, all books will help your language skills. They'll help your critical thinking, and they'll help you move forward. Great books are going to make you a better person. I think
Yeah.
it was Mark Twain who says, "The man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot."
Mm,
And that is the quote I will leave you guys with today.
that's
I
awesome.
love this topic. So I called this Book Recommendations 2022. I'd like to make this more of an annual thing because I read, good 40 books a year. Maybe I'll talk
Oh,
about the best books of the last year.
all right. So
But
I'm gonna have to get busy. So
that
for
that quote again for all of you is, "The man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot read them." So take that to heart, get out, find a book, find something on Audible that you can listen to that you enjoy, step out of your box every once in a while, but just read anything. Listen to anything in your car. Listen to this podcast, listen to books, listen to something where you're learning and challenging yourself and not getting too many new ideas. All right,
there we
we'll
go.
see everyone next week.
See ya.